Hi folks, I'm Frank Connors from People Plus, and I'm sharing pieces from my Speaking Frankly book. If you have absolutely nothing else to do, you might enjoy sitting down and listening. This morning I'm reading a story that I wrote about doing my sergeant's taxes. It is tax season time. We all need to face that, even though we're getting a little extra time, I guess, this year due to circumstances to file our returns. Here we go. I have never gone through a tax day without thinking of Papa Alonzo. Back in my paratrooper days in the 101st Airborne, my life was pretty much under the thumb of an NCO that I'll call Fidel Alonzo. Sergeant Alonzo, a Papa Bear, a Pappy Alonzo, was a Golden Glove champion boxer in the Caribbean who might have stood 5 feet tall without his combat boots, which he was never without. He was wider than a cot at his chest, his shoulders were broader than his chest, and I never figured out where his shoulders stopped and his neck started. When I met him in 1966, he was a decorated Korean War vet with a tour in Vietnam already behind him. He had ears like apricots, forearms that were bigger than my thighs, and a fist that looked like a boned-in ham whenever he put it near my nose, which was often. Sergeant Alonzo was almost always, nice to me, as nice went for him. From my first days at Fort Campbell, he always called me Maine, a college boy. Only once did I question the title, telling him I'd gone to college, but that I hadn't graduated. He gave me one of his patented chest pats that always flipped me backwards at least 3 steps, then threw his head back and cawed that laugh, saying, "A couple of days of college would make you smarter than most of these guys in this outfit." And then he offered a broad sweep of the barracks bunk room, his arms plowing that fist so close to my nose that I could smell it. "You read books," he added, "that makes you smart." He tried to pat me again, but I stayed out of his reach. "See," he laughed, "you're a smart college boy." I was pulling a lonesome radio watch one weekend when 2, maybe 3 hours after midnight, in walks Sergeant Alonzo. "Just making sure things are right," he announced. We all assumed that the man never slept. We'd heard stories that there was a wife, but no one recalled ever seeing her. Alonzo walked to my desk and sat in one corner. I was trapped. In 2 seconds, I could tell I'd passed his inspection because I was still in my chair. His bead-like eyes bounced over me, making sure my uniform was correct, that the radio was on frequency, that the volume was set at a correct level. I could see that he had checked to be sure that I was carrying a sidearm, and from where he was sitting, I just knew he must have decided it was clean enough and loaded. "What you reading?" he asked, pointing at an income tax guide that someone had left on the desk. I'd picked it up once or twice, decided it was boring, and tossed it back to the desk. I shrugged. I picked the guide up and flashed the cover at him. "I worked hard for my country," the sergeant announced. "I would die for my country," he added. I waited for him to pound his chest, but he didn't. "Wouldn't you think I could catch a break with my income taxes?" I pouted, nodded my head to the affirmative. It seemed like a reasonable request. "Every year," he said, "I pay the government $800, sometimes $1,000. Do you think that's right?" He jumped off my desk to emphasize the point. If I did think it's right, do you think I was going to tell him? "How much do you pay in taxes?" he asked. I knew the rant was going to continue. I told him I was just a kid and I'd never filed income taxes. I think that confused him, not just a little. "Hey, college boy," he came around the desk like he intended to wrestle me to the floor. "You think you might do my taxes? Get me some money back." Oh man, thinks I, this is awful. But after a second, I was wondering how difficult it could be. And then I made a quick, if bad, decision. "Sure," said I. "How much do you want back?" Pappy gave me most of the next week off to do his taxes. He even let me skip morning marches. His payroll was so basic, it was unblemishable. So we came up with a bunch of imaginary expenses and deductions. I went to the post office and got a few special forms and finally finished the return that impressed even me. What were the chances he'd ever get audited anyway? The guy's practically a national hero. So we filed for a $1,012 refund, and I worried that my body would break because he hugged me so hard. 4 months later, I'm running a chopper unloading on a landing zone in Vietnam. Off with the ammo, sea rations, water, and mail came a new guy that I recognized from Alonzo's old outfit at Fort Campbell. "Hey, college boy," he yelled excitedly as he recognized me. We exchanged ketchup for 4, maybe 5 minutes, and suddenly his face went serious. "Did you hear about Alonzo?" he asked. Without waiting for my answer, and with more joy than he should have had, he said, "The guy got audited. He wants you real bad, Connors." He ended up repaying the government his refund and maybe $600 to $800 in penalties and interest. They threatened to put him in jail. He almost got busted. He's telling guys who are coming over here to find you and to kill you. This story ends better than I could have hoped for. I never saw Sergeant Alonzo again, so I was never put to death for the liberties I took with the IRS tax codes. Best of all, my Jane still takes care of our taxes every season. Thanks for listening.